All right, so for question one, how do the client's childhood experiences compare with your childhood? Um, so the people that have attended Stan Daniels Healing Center have had very different childhoods than what the average person may have had. These men, they've experienced neglect, abandonment, they've been physically and sexually abused, or they've seen addiction and violence in their homes. This can really affect a person, like in the way that they think and live their normal life, and causing them to go down, sometimes they go down really bad roads and possibly getting into trouble with the law and all that. Personally, I have experienced a bit of that in my childhood, specifically verbal abuse and addiction coming from my stepfather. So I'm very familiar with how somebody who is very unwell can affect another person's life and theirs as well. And these people, they can install like a permanent fear or trauma or like some sort of PTSD into their life, and it can really affect them for their years to come. So, yeah.
Thank you for your answer, Alex. So fortunately, I have never experienced these things in my childhood. Like, I didn't face them personally, the abuse, but I've seen many people, or I can say I've seen many examples of people doing abuse and people going through that abuse, and it did not turn out very well for both the peoples usually, especially for people who are going through that, like who are addicted to substances. For example, one of my father's cousin, he was addicted to drinking, and because of that, he never focused very well on his work and his family. He never used to work, never look if their kids are studying, like go to their meetings to check if they are really getting good grades or something. And mm, because of that, his son never focused on studies. There was no one to keep a check on him. And uh, he also started using substances later in his life, in coming years, is when he had too much of independence for everything, as no one was really stopping him, and it didn't really end well for them. My parents always tried to teach me not to do these things and live the life a better way. Like, seeing them, they used to tell me, you don't need to do these things, you can do other things. There are choices in your life which you can choose. Either you can go that side or you can study. Also, my brother always tells me to get addicted to living. So, yeah, that's pretty much I can connect to this story. Thank you.
Thank you guys for both your answers. As for me, I haven't personally dealt with any of that, but there's an example I have in my life that this happened to my a friend of mine who I went to elementary school with. He got a scholarship for track and field, but since he lives in a bad neighborhood, he developed some bad habits. Eventually, he went to jail at a young age. He just got out now. Just like he's 19 and he's trying to figure out his life like he's 13 years old. Well, yeah, that's my connection.
Yeah, I honestly think it's just crazy how many people are affected by like addiction and all this stuff. And usually it does come from a bit lower income households and stuff, which I think like is the case, right? Like with the clients at the Stan Daniels Healing Center, their childhood had a lot of abuse, neglect, abandonment. And then also because they're indigenous, like the whole history with the residential schools and the history with like sexual assault, like through the children and them passing it down through generations. Like, obviously, I don't know what that's like firsthand. I couldn't even imagine um, what that would be like. But in my home, we did have some like heavy drinking, like alcoholism does run in my family. So just to experience that as a kid, like that was hard. coming home and like kind of walking on eggshells and everything like that. Like, but to the level that they've experienced and like affecting their lives so much that they get kicked out of the house or they run away or they're put into welfare, like I couldn't imagine what it would feel like to have those things happen at home and feel like I couldn't talk to someone about what happened or kind of go to someone above me like an elder and kind of have that guidance. So, yeah.
The second question: in what way does the video influence your view on what social work could or should be? So for me, this video showed me that social work can be really empowering and focuses on what the clients want. At Stan Daniels, the healing center, the clients are in charge of making their own programs. They figure out the steps they need to take to live well and avoid problems. And they also develop new habits which will benefit them in the future. They do this with help from the elders and other staff members, but they're the ones who lead the way. The community is the support and helps them from stumbling. Usually, I mean, for me, I used to think social workers were the one who decides the client's like program and what they're supposed to do. But this showed me that the clients are the ones who help themselves, and which is kind of the better way to help them succeed and getting better.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This really opened up my view of what social work could be. Like Emmanuel said, like it could be very empowering, client driven. And I do like that the clients are tasked with the job of outlining their own recovery program, right? Like obviously they have help from the elders and the staff, but the fact that they have to do it on their own, I feel like it gives them a lot more like self-driven will and like willpower to want to recover versus a social worker kind of handing them a plan that they had no part in, kind of cookie cutter style and saying, "Hey, just follow this and like you'll make it." But I feel like when they're tied to it personally, I think the outcomes can be so much better, especially with the elders and the staff kind of being with them step by step. When they do kind of falter, they're there to be like, "Hey, let's get you back on track. What was your plan? Let's keep doing what you're doing."
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. This video really demonstrated that social work is really like admirable work. These workers, they help the clients at Stan Daniels, and they've really turned their lives around to help them become better people and great members of society. They create a safe space and are able to let grown men express their feelings and thoughts, which can be a very, very difficult thing to do. Um, they influence my view of what social work can be by showing firsthand how they are changing these like broken people, ex-convicts, and anything like that, and essentially just putting them back together and getting them on the right foot to start their life again.
Thank you, everyone. Well, my thoughts are pretty similar on this one with every one of you. Like the video helped me to know social work is not only for this story, I'll say, not only uh, getting them out of addiction, like as it was told in this story too. It's not only they get out of addiction and go out, then they are getting into addiction again. It's not like that. In Stan Daniels, they really try to help them with their lives. They tell them to make their own plans or write they try to write their schedules and plans how they'll try to help them. So they are just not helping them to get out of addiction. They also try to help them study or get jobs and with overall life and help them be a better person, get their family back and everything.
Yeah. I also really like, Alex, what you said, like expressing their emotions and stuff and just creating that space. Cause I
Mhm.
don't think like growing up, like well, first of all, I didn't really know what social work was, but like I don't think that gets like talked about enough. That grown men need a space for that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even I used to think first before taking this course. Now it have changed very much. Like first, what is social work? You just feed homeless. That is social work. You just give someone clothes. That is social work. Like all of that is help, but overall helping someone with their life and helping them become a better person. I think that is the real social work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, number 3, identify 2 aspects from anti-oppressive social work and demonstrate the challenges faced by Stan Daniels Healing Center program and how you would go about resolving them. I don't know if I found anything new watching the video. I feel like I really tried to focus on what issues they already kind of have and like just working there, like how you would have to kind of handle those. So at Stan Daniels Healing Center, I found that they had to obviously face racism and discrimination. They're all kind of Indigenous or Aboriginal descent that take the program. And therefore, in order to resolve this, the workers and the elders and the staff, they would really need to focus on working with the clients and ensuring that they're using empowering activities and like practices and saying like you are in control of like what's going to happen here, your control of your recovery and your healing process. And like you want that for these clients, right? Because you don't want to feel like they're being oppressed further by the center saying like, okay, you've come to us now you have to listen to everything I do. I feel like with the residential schools and the history and like colonialism, they're so used to being told by, I mean, not in this case, obviously, but by like white men, like this is how you have to behave and act and feel and think. And in order to break that, we need to use anti-oppressive and say like, no, like, how do you want to handle this? How do you want your recovery to go? And I think focusing on using appropriate language and their cultural practices are important for empowering these clients to embrace their traditions and heritage so that they can kind of get back to their roots and their identities. Another aspect that I think they need to take into consideration, which again, the video does cover with the clients, is that most of them are from lower income or living in poverty before they're placed in the center. So a part of resolving this is connecting them with employment opportunities and jobs that they can do while they're there and get the training and the education, but also continue. Because if they don't have somewhere to go after, or at least a job lined up or employment lined up, then there's a greater chance that they just fall back into the system. So I think that when people are connected to income opportunities to earn an income that meets their needs, they're going to be less likely to fall back to their own patterns of substance use, being involved with the criminal justice system, kind of going about their old ways. I think if you want them on the right path, you need to set them up. Like income ensures a house, ensures food, ensures clothing. And I think that after recovery, like they want a better life. So it's nice that the center really focuses on giving them the skills they need to get there.
Yeah, those are great points, Kelsey. I totally agree.
Thank
I
you.
also think that beliefs can be a big challenge faced by the Stan Daniels Healing Center. Um, Everyone has different beliefs, and no one should really try and force like their practices onto others and like what they believe in just because they think that it's right. The people coming to Stan Daniels may not believe in everything that's practiced there. And I think that they shouldn't be forced into practicing something that they don't already believe in. How this can be resolved all falls on the social workers that are working there, I think. Um, and just, yeah. I feel like they would have to put their clients first and work with them as well, to try and figure out a common ground and practices that they should use. And honestly, maybe even some cases that if the clients don't believe it could be a good fit for them, they could find another program that fits them like as a better alternative for that. Another aspect I think as well, and agreeing with you, Kelsey, is discrimination and racism, which is really a big issue everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the people coming to this program could have either been discriminated against or have discriminated against someone because of their skin color, their beliefs, or anything along those lines, really. The people working at Stan Daniels would have to discourage any of that like sort of behavior, like anything discriminating against anyone. And try and work on those bad habits to try and like just try and not do it, basically. There could also be the possibility of also being transferred to another program if that one's not working out for them. For the people being discriminated against, they would also have to be talked to and worked with to ensure that they're, if they're all right and kind of enlighten them to ignore the comments being said. Some might need more one-on-one time with the elders to build like a stronger mentality or help come up with ways to help deal with the discrimination that's being endured.
And that was a great point. Uh, I didn't find too much to write on this question, uh, but I found something that I think is challenge for them. Uh, its social location can lead to oppression and may force limits on both therapeutic alliance and client staff disclosure. Also, blinders, social location can impede therapist's ability to see others as they are, as well as see oneself and diagnosis, prejudices, stereotypes, and repressed desires. Now, how can this be resolved? Ongoing training and supervision for staff to assist them to critically self-reflect on their inherent privileges personally and professionally, to be culturally competent, and to instead foster collaborative and empowering client relationships, and transparent methods of communication and feedback to ensure that clients feel heard and validated by the therapeutic processes. If you guys want to comment anything on that. Also, we only have 5 minutes left before the meeting ends by its own.
Okay. Uh, I like all you guys' answers. They basically summed everything up. But I like what Kelsey said. They do indeed need fact, need like help with finding jobs after they finish their programs, because that could really set up their lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for the fourth question, what are some of the lessons learned and how do they help you in your future social work practice? I learned so many things when I watched the video of Stan Daniels. It was something very different from the normal places I've seen that help people. The major thing that I learned was you need to really connect with your clients, as it showed in the start of the video. Like when clients come in there to get help, they don't just say, okay, you can come in and we'll start your routine or something. They take kind of interview round and then make a schedule. The elders discuss like at what phase of life is that person and in what aspect does the person need help, like especially how does the person feel right now, so what is the best way to help. They try to figure that out, so that shows how they are like really trying to help the person from the root level of their problem. Also, they focus on helping their clients understand that it's not their fault that they were abused, so they don't need to suffer, but it is now in their hands to work on themselves and help them because they are the major person who can help themselves. I think these things are really going to help me connect with clients more effectively and emotionally and help me with the healing of people whenever I try to do social work in my future. Thank you.
That was a very nice response, by the way. One of the lessons that I personally learned from the video is that if you think that you're not doing good enough in the world, or if like you need to make a change, that there's always some sort of support system that you can access, whether it be from family, friends, or a program that is designed to help with people facing that sort of mentality. It's just there's always somebody there that's, willing to help you. The people that work at Stan Daniels are like a prime example of that and what it means to be a great social worker, because they turn these broken people into, harder workers and better members of society that they were before. They help bring life back into these people, and like they think that their life is over because of the lives or the decisions that they've made throughout their life. But these workers can really like impact a person and, their thoughts and their beliefs in that. And these workers helped me in my social work career by showing me what it means to be a social worker and showing me how a job like this can drastically change a person.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like the workers there, they're so connected to the clients and they're really like role models for what we should kind of be striving to be. And Piyush, I really like that you said that they really focus on like telling them
Thank
what
you.
happened
Thank you,
to
Dr.
them.
Rice. Yeah.
What happened to them like wasn't their fault. I really like that. And I feel like that's something I can bring forward with me. And I also really liked that the center really focused on Indigenous people and their culture, and that they can benefit from receiving services that integrate that into their recovery. And I feel like the Stan Daniels Healing Center, they connect them with resources like elders and the sweat lodges and their culture, knowing that this type of recovery, instead of like applying normal colonial kind of social work practices, um, it kind of highlights the fact that people can heal faster and better when placed in a system that supports who they are as a person, instead of trying to make them fit into a mold that they're not supposed to fit into. And I think I want to implement the strength-based approach in my future practice as a social worker that encourages and empowers the clients to kind of take charge of their own recovery and goals, and they feel more driven by the process to want to recover and heal. And I just feel like as a social worker, you want that for your clients. You want success. And I feel like this would be the best way to move forward.
Yeah.
I like that answer. I personally am not pursuing a career in social work, but what I learned is that a second chance for anyone can go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
can change their life.
way.
Can I think it can make them a whole new person.